everyone, so it's time for another book video, and this month I have read 15 books, and there is a chance that I'm going to read another book or two before the end of the month because I'm filming this on the 27th, but I figured, I already have enough books to talk about. So the first 3 books that I read were like a series of novellas, and it was called Second Kiss, Double Exposure, and Second Chance by Chelsea M. Cameron. These books are basically all female-female romances, and they're all kind of connected, and they all are kind of set in a coffee shop. They're all really sweet, really short. Again, they're all novellas, and they're under like 100 pages. So if you just want some really sweet, not very angsty romance books that are really short, you can check them out. It's really nice. I gave Second Kiss 4 stars, Double Exposure 5, and Second Chance 4 stars. And the reason why I gave the second one 5 was just because I really loved the ship in the book, and I loved their chemistry and everything. And yeah, I'm gonna link all the books down below on Goodreads. I don't want to spend too long discussing the plot because we'd be here for a long time. The second book that I read was The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics by Olivia Waite, and this is another female-female romance book, which you can see by the cover. I actually read these after watching like a female-female romance recommendation video by Fadwa, who has a channel called Word Wonders. So I'm gonna link her channel down below in the video if you want to check that out, if that's something that you're interested in. That's why I read a bunch of female-female romance books, and I really loved this one. I gave it 5 stars. It's a historical romance. It is just so sweet and so beautiful, and their relationship is really just romantic and really sweet. And the main issue in the book isn't that there are 2 girls together. It's more like the main character wants to translate a book about like astrology and stuff, and no one respects her because she's a woman. So that's kind of like the main plot problem. Next book was Becoming by Michelle Obama, and I have this book in a hardcover, but I actually listened to it on audio. It was the second book that I ever listened to, and I loved it so much. She's actually the one who narrates it, and wow, she has such a beautiful voice, and it was just so cool because, it's like Michelle Obama is reading her book to you, I just found that really cool, and I never would expect it because I kind of stayed away from audiobooks for a long time because I didn't think that I would like them. But nonfiction, like listening to audiobooks when it comes to nonfiction, I think is just like absolutely wonderful and amazing, and I want to do that a lot because, first of all, I thought there was only Audible, but there's this thing called Scribd that you can pay for that's like $8 every month or something, and it is basically unlimited audiobooks, and they have almost everything. I've looked for a lot of books on there, and I've found like 9 out of 10, I feel like, so they don't have absolutely everything, but they do have most things, and it's like a library, and I still can't believe it because like nonfiction books are so expensive, and if you want to buy a book on Audible or something on like Amazon, it costs you often like $20, and like this you can have like an infinite amount of audiobooks for $8 every month. And I definitely recommend this. Either, if you don't want to listen to the audiobook, then you can just check out the like physical copy, but I really recommend it. It was so cool. It taught me a lot and like information, but it was so fun. The way she wrote it was just really personal, and it was inspiring, and it's a really great book. I'm not used to reading autobiographies, but I really enjoyed this one, and I don't know if I said it, but I gave it 5 stars, so yes. The next book was Unlearn by Humble the Poet, and I actually also listened to that on audio, and I didn't read this one because I wasn't sure how I wanted to read it. Basically, he talks about like life, and the book is called like Unlearn 101 Simple Truths for a Better Life, and there were things that like inspired me and that I found cool or interesting, but I felt like it just wasn't for me, really. I didn't find much for me in it, and I'm not saying that it's not for anyone. I know that there have been people who really loved it, and so, you know, if you like inspirational books about life that are kind of deep, you can still check it out, and, you know, maybe it's gonna be for you, but it was not for me. I don't really know. It just didn't really make me feel that much. It didn't really inspire me, and yeah. The next book that I read is called Work For It by Talia Hibbert. This one, it has a male-male romance in it, and I really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I just love their relationship so much. Like, it's basically like a small town romance, and both of them are kind of grumpy. Like, one of the guys is like kind of shy and doesn't really socialize, and people in the town don't really talk to him, and he kind of just like hides from the world a little bit. And the other guy is also a tiny bit like grumpy, but he's more extroverted and he's like more talkative and energetic and stuff. And I just loved the energy between them, and they kind of, you know, were annoyed at each other at first, but they've always had chemistry, and I feel like it starts with a lot of sexual tension but it becomes a more meaningful and deeper relationship, if that makes sense. But I really enjoy this. The next one is called Anyone But You by Chelsea M. Cameron, and this is a female romance book. And again, I found out about this thanks to the video that Fadwa made, and I gave it 4 stars. It's basically about a girl who owns a yoga studio and another girl who becomes the yoga studio owner's landlord, and she starts a gym, and they also have kind of like a hate to love relationship. And the only issue I had with it was that like the landlord, she kind of annoyed the main character a lot at first, and that's how she wanted to get her attention. So I didn't like that because of the like stereotype that like the person who treats you badly is, you know, that's like a sign that they like you. And it wasn't bad there. Like, she just did like tiny annoying things. She didn't do anything actually like really bad or whatever. She didn't bully her or anything, but I just didn't love that. But then I quite liked their relationship. I also felt like nothing much happened between them for a long time, and then everything happened really quickly. But other than that, I enjoyed the book. It was fun, it was fast-paced, I flew through it. The next book that I actually listened to again was Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson, and I gave it 5 stars. It's a really beautiful book in some points. Like, it just really like touched my heart and just made me speechless and stuff. And again, she's the one who narrates it. That's actually the case with a lot of books, and this is like a non-fiction memoir type of a book written in free verse, I think. Yeah, and so a lot of the time the people who write the non-fiction narrate it, which I find it just makes it even more magical and authentic for me, and I really like that. And yeah, so I really loved this book. The next book that I listened to, wow, I actually listened to way more things than I expected, than I thought I did. This one was Shame is an Ocean I Swam Across by Mary Lambert, and this was a poetry book, again read by the author. And now I want to listen to basically all poetry books in an audio form. I probably won't, but listening to the poet reading it makes it so much more powerful. Like, I feel like if I read this in a physical form, some of the poems wouldn't have hit me as hard as they did hearing it from her, you know, with her voice. Because when you listen to it, you can really hear the emotion, and you can hear the pain, and you can hear just all the feelings that the author felt when they wrote it and stuff. And it just makes it so much more powerful, and I really recommend it. It is so cool, especially like, you know, if you're into slam poetry and like spoken word poetry, and I absolutely recommend you check out some audiobook poetry books, because it was a really cool. I think I wouldn't have loved it as much as I did if I read it in a book form. The next book I read was The Right Swipe by Alicia Rai, and oh my god, I gave this 5 stars, and I loved it so much. I basically went on a trip to Edinburgh, and I read it there you know, like in the time that we weren't doing anything, and I just had it on my Kindle and I just kept reading, and suddenly the book was over and I was just like, hey God, I need more. But I really freaking loved this. It's an adult romance book, and it is so fun, and oh my God, like the relationship between the two of them is just like to die for, and I just loved it. And there was just like so much sexual tension and so much just like, oh my God, just yes. And the plot is basically that like the main character is like a strong independent woman, and she's a CEO of a dating app, and with the guy they hooked up like a while ago before the book started through her app, and then he ghosted her because of some actual valid reasons, which we find out a little bit later, and their paths cross again, and that's how it starts. And I just loved their relationship so much, and just, oh my God, yes. It was hot, but at the same time it was like they developed a really strong connection, which I basically said the same thing about Work For It, but anyway, yeah, it's just, I loved this. I loved it so much, and I totally recommend it. Again, if you like romance, check it out. The next thing I read was Great Goddesses by Nikita Gill, and I'm gonna be completely honest, the reason why I originally wanted to read it is because it's absolutely beautiful. And I also love Greek mythology, but the thing that disappointed me, and I think a lot of people, is that I thought it would be poetry, but it was actually very far from poetry. It was written in like a poetry kind of a way, in the sense that like every page was like a different story. It wasn't like chapters or anything, but it didn't have any kind of like rhymes or any kind of like poetic anything. It just felt like very short stories in a way, but it was cool, like in the sense that it gives you a new perspective on different Greek myths and stuff, and I found that really cool. She tried to link the Greek mythology to, you know, like our modern world and life and stuff, which that was really cool, and I gave it 3 stars because I found that cool, but at the same time, I feel like it could have been much more powerful if it was more of actual poetry, because for me, it just sometimes it felt like too long and it dragged too much a little bit, and yeah, I just think it could have been a little bit better. But if you really like Greek myths and stuff like that, then I definitely recommend it. It is quite cool and it's super pretty. The next book that I actually have here is Art Matters by Neil Gaiman, illustrated by Chris Riddle, and this is a tiny little book that is super cute, and it has illustrations, and it's, you know, it's just more like quotes than actual like really long sentences and stuff. It's about how much art matters, and I found this really sweet and really cute. I read it in like 10 minutes, I feel like, because it's quite short. But I really recommend you get it because, I mean, if you are like a creative person, if you are an artist of any kind, I definitely recommend it. It is really sweet and inspiring, and you can just fly through it. And I took it here with me to London because I wanted to just sometimes flip through the pages, you know, if I'm feeling a little bit just uninspired. The next book, oh yes, the next book that I read was Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare. I'm not like a historical romance person, but oh my God, I love this. This was one of the books that I was just completely immersed in, and I didn't think about how many pages I had left. I didn't think about anything else. I just was enjoying it so much, and I just loved it so much. Like the relationship between the 2 main characters was just absolutely wonderful, and the plot is basically that there's a duke, and he is blind, and it happened because of an accident. And so for like 8 months, he's, after the accident, he's just been living alone in isolation. And this young girl comes in, and she just comes into the castle because a guy invites her there. Whatever, she doesn't have any money, and she doesn't have anything, and this is the last thing that she can do. And so she comes to the castle, and basically she just ends up staying there. And, the Duke is really annoyed at her at first, and he's really grumpy and stuff like that, and they just get close, and the main girl is super cool. She's she doesn't have like any relationship experience, so that sounds like, you know, like a stereotypical romance book. But she is just so fun. She's independent. She's just so amazing. I absolutely loved her, and she is really strong, and she doesn't have like any expectations. She's not really much, she's like a romantic in the sense that she believes in love, but she doesn't have any expectations. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just loved her so much, and I absolutely recommend this book. Again, if you like romance. I've been reading a lot of romance, and then I threw some nonfiction into it this month. Basically, that's been my reading month. And the last book, last but not least, I just read Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell. This is basically like a fall comic book that is just like a cute, sweet romance. And I gave this 4 stars. And this is basically the first comic book I've ever read in my life. And I've been trying quite a lot of new things, you know, like listening to audiobooks, reading comic books. I just really want to like have an open mind and try new things that I've normally never, you know, done, and just explore the entire book world. And so I read this, and it's basically like a fall themed cute comic book. I don't think you need to know more about it, but if you like fall, if you want to get into a fall mood, and if you're interested in reading about 2 pretty cool characters who are quite fun, I really recommend it. Am I going to read a lot of comic books from now on? Probably not, but I am definitely willing to check out some more of them because it was nice. You know, sometimes it's nice to not have to read like tons of sentences and long pages and stuff like that. Those are all the books that I've read this month, and yeah. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos, because every single Sunday I'm going to be making book videos. So if you have any requests, tell me in the comments down below. Also, tell me what books you have read this month, or what was your favorite book, or anything like that. And that's it. Have a great day, and I'm going to see you soon in another video. Bye!